Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. Rector Arundel here with Able Spirit to Me, and I am Able. And I am very excited. I'm putting up a video right now about a conversation that Jason and I just shared in regard to attracting the ideal superconsciousness for you. And it really does come down to the law of attraction. You attract things into your life of your likeness. So if you want to be better than you are, you have to try to incorporate those things into your life now. And that's what the whole last video was talking about. But in this video, we're going to do an exciting rapid answer question. And Jason's going to be giving his opinion on all these different practices that I have incorporated throughout my videos on different ways of purifying the vessel, so to speak, to bring in and attract the superconsciousness of your choice. That we indwell the best superconsciousness for us, we embody our higher selves, etc., and which honors the sovereignty of both the individual and the superconsciousness. So, Jason, are you ready for an excited rapid fire?
Sure.
Okay. So, I'm going to start out with a little bit of a conflicting question, and this is I know you're not into Gnostic Gospels, but in the Essene Gospel of Peace, Jesus talks about fasting for 7 days to help purify the physical body of all the bacteria and the parasites that are indwelled in there currently and messing up your spiritual growth. And in that book, he also talks about even enemas and talks about the energies that govern our environment, like energy deities, if you will, demigods of the air, sun, water, and earth. And last but not least, he talks about eating raw food versus cooking. So I wanted to ask you what your perspective was on first fasting to purify your body, and secondly, cleansing out of the body by other things like salt water flushing or enemas, etc.
Okay. Yeah, well, having an LDS Mormon background, it's fasting is a regular part of our religious discipline. And the way I was raised was that the first Sunday of each month, we called it the Fast Sunday. And so what we would do is we would abstain from food and drink for a period of 24 hours.
Beautiful.
On a monthly basis.
Okay.
And
now that's actually, we're almost out of that minute, but it goes right into the next questions.
So it's a thumbs up. I affirm fasting is
great.
Good.
So that question actually goes into the next question. I was going to ask you about dry fasting, and you actually said it on your own, no food or drink. And you might be aware of the Ramadan month for Islam, where they also do a whole month of no eating or drinking while the sun is up. So it sounds like, once again, you are fully on board with this idea of purifying the physical vessel with the idea of fasting.
Yeah, and if you don't mind, I'd like a minute on the Ramadan.
Yeah.
I've practiced that, and not every time, but it's something that I actually started doing without realizing I was doing it. My first wife, Sarah, we were married for 25 years plus, and she, unfortunately, she passed away last year of cancer.
Sorry.
And as she was near the end of her struggle, I was really distraught and wondering what is going on, what can I do? And so I started a prolonged fast, and I actually went 5 days without anything.
That's great. I love fasting.
It might even have ended up being more than that. And the thing that was fascinating is I was praying about different things, and my wife, Kristen, my second wife, I had two wives for about almost 4 years, and she has a calendar, and she watches closely what goes on the calendar, and she has all the different religious feast days, festivals, holy days, and so forth.
Right.
And it turns out that I actually started fasting when the people of Islam started their Ramadan observance.
We call that synchronicity.
Like, wow.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, it was a synchronicity. And so then I continued my extended fast in the manner, I then began eating during the nighttime.
Gotcha.
I'd have my meal at sundown and sunrise, But anyway, it was quite a fascinating experience, and I did ultimately get revelatory information that helped me understand that it was my wife's time to go, and it was quite fascinating. There was all these parallels between my first wife Sarah and the wife of the Prophet Muhammad. So it was kind of an interesting experience with fasting on that note too.
Yes, and I'd like to talk more about fasting, but not yet. We have to move on, okay?
Yes.
So the other side
Yeah.
of fasting is not just fasting from food, but fasting from certain things. So the next logical step would be fasting from things like meat. Is it actually beneficial for you to eat things like vegetables, fruit, lighter foods, or maybe even liquids only, versus eating heavy foods like meat, etc.? So just a quick perspective on that.
Yeah, I tend to feel better when I don't eat so much meat. I'm not anti-meat because I think different people have different blood types and different body types, and I've had some nutritional training in the past. I actually went on a strictly vegan diet for over 6 months just to see what my body would do, and I was just fine.
Sure. Yeah.
So I can do it, but I do have a little bit of meat, but it's very strict. I'm extremely conscientious about the care of the life of the animal prior to its, sacrificing itself.
Right.
And so the little bit of meat I do eat, typically I eat a lot of salmon and mahi or some halibut. I eat fish that's not going to have a lot of mercury in it and that kind of, meat right now is probably the worst thing people could really be. If you're eating it for enjoyment, you really ought to reconsider, because I think there is a price that you pay.
I agree, but we have to move on to the next question. Next question is toxins, a big one. Now, before you answer, I'm talking about things as as loaded as fluoride and vaccinations, medications, but on top of that, also alcohol, nicotine, caffeine, all these things. A very quick 30-second answer. Is there a rule in your spiritual path of avoiding all toxins, or is it catered to certain things?
Well, if it came to a matter of immediate life and death, there's things better than being, I would sustain some toxicity. Like my wife had surgery and she had some pain medication that we wouldn't normally approve of, but it's what she needed at that time. And so I take things case by case, but as a general rule, yes, indeed, totally avoid fluoride. It calcifies your pineal gland and it cuts off your attunement with the higher consciousness, and toxins, anything that's addictive in nature, handle with great care. As far as foods go, I avoid all GMO, and I don't I like things that are natural. And as far as medications go, I definitely discourage anyone from using pharmacopoeia. It's basically it's sorcery. Yeah. And it creates issues that, to me, I think there's so many other things. Ayurvedic practices, I'm not an expert on, but they do tend to offer quite a bit of value for people in terms of medicine. Cannabis, CBDs, is extremely underappreciated. I think there needs to be a lot more attention on those non-toxic, non-addictive. Even THC is non-addictive. It can be habit-forming, of course, but the body doesn't. We have the endocannabinoid system that our bodies are meant to be more in harmony with the herbs and the plants, and right. And a lot of that knowledge, unfortunately, the West is taken for granted.
I think that's a great answer. This is taking a lot longer than I expected, so we're going to stop right now and we're going to start again because we're only halfway through the questions and we're at 10 minutes, okay? Good stuff.
Oh, wow.
I'm going to talk. We'll start again in 1 minute, okay? All right.